Okay, so I got my stuff together to build another little watch. This is just taking the movement out of the case, and there's that little bag with a stem in it. So just set that over to the side for a minute, and pull out my movement and take a look. Next thing you do, you get your movement set up, and you have to clip the pins off your dial because these dials come for sometimes different movements and sometimes different crown placements or date window placements. So you have to check which ones you don't need. And when I went out of frame for a second there, you can see that I was just lining up the dial with the pinholes on the movement to make sure which ones I had to cut off. And I found that these there's like one by itself and then two and a little pair by themselves, and the little set of two had to be cut off. So I just checked to make sure that was correct. So here I am snipping them off with these snippers. Sometimes these snippers will cut off and they'll be really flush and you don't need to sand them down, but this time I had some pretty stubborn little nubs sticking up there, so I got out the emery board and started sanding them off. And I started on the cushion part of the little cushion thing first, but then it was kind of squishy, so I flipped it over to get the hard side of the cushion up, so it gives me a better base for sanding off these little nubs. And I'm just using a little emery board that you get from any checkout lane. When you're going out of the checkout lane at the grocery store, just look over to your left, and they're usually there. They cost $1 or $2, something like that. They're not expensive. So I sanded down those nubs the way I wanted them to, and I blew them off a little bit. Then I repositioned my pad. I guess I just wiped that on my pan slick like anybody else would. So then I got a little brush. This is an old toothbrush. I'm making sure that I got the rest of that dust off of the dial. Make sure it's pretty cleaned up before I go on and clean off my pad a little bit. So now, I'm blowing off again. So now I just stick it down to the movement, start putting my hands on. And I'm just right there, I'm just checking that the pins are opposite each other across the hole, because that's how the holes are set up. So if you line up your pins across the center of the dial and they're not lined up, you cut the wrong pin off or something. So you might have to get some dial dots or something out. So now I'm just sticking the dial on, and I'm gonna take a look. I'm pinching this thing. I'm trying not to pinch hold of it where I would get the hairspring, the main pinched or anything like that. So okay, so I got my dial on there. It looks okay. Got my hand tool, presser tool. And what I'm doing here is when you're putting on the hour hand, you want to make sure that your tool you're using isn't going to go all the way down to the face of the dial, because you will smash your freaking hour hand onto the face of the dial. You need to make sure that the presser, whichever little presser tip you've chosen, isn't going to go all the way down to the face of the dial, and it stops after the second pin, or the minute hand pin. So I'm just pulling off a little piece of Rodico to help put my hands on. You can use tweezers, but sometimes, and I do use tweezers sometimes, but with tweezers, when you're putting on a hand, the tweezers have to not only position the hand on the dial, but you also have to maintain the right pressure using your hand. So if you use a piece of Rodico, you can just stick the hand to the Rodico, and you just position the Rodico. You don't really need to monitor your what kind of pressure you're putting on it like you would with a pair of tweezers, holding them with the right kind of tension. And why am I not using tweezers to move these things around? I have no idea. I was just kind of wanting to go, so I'm just using these pry bar hands that were sitting next to me for some reason. Yeah, when I went to build this watch, it was like I have another watch build coming, and my plan on January 1st was, let me get this thing built and get my year off to a good start. And I blew it off and I didn't get it done. So I ordered these little gray watch cases that you'll see that came in the mail on January the 3rd. So I was looking at them, and they're pretty cool little cases. I ordered 2 of them just because they're I just want to look at them. I thought maybe I would try to polish one of them. They come sandblasted, but I thought I might try to polish one. So I ordered 2 of them. They were only like $20. So I had these cases came in on the 3rd. I'm like, man, let me just throw something together. So I looked at my little box of parts, and I found that dial. I ordered 2 of those dials once a long time ago. There's another dial just like that. That the you see how the white indices kind of, you can see them when the watch tilted. You can barely see them the way they are there. They're printed with loom material. But there's also another dial just like this where those are printed in kind of a yellowy orange kind of a material. And I thought it would match the band that I already picked out. But when I looked at it, they were too yellowy. I didn't like them. They didn't look great. So I just went with this white dial for the heck of it. And then looking through my hands, I found these orange hands. I'm like, and they match the NATO strap that I've picked out. It was just an old NATO strap that was in my bag as well. And so I got these hands on there. It looks like the hour hand is just a little bit forward, like a minute or two. But, you know, this is just me knocking something together just for the sake of doing something with my channel. You know, I built that other Vostok watch some months ago, and I got a whole bunch of other watch builds to do. So I just wanted to do something at the beginning of the year, and you know, just as more of a motivational thing than anything else. So I got this thing placed, and through clever editing, it looks like it only takes me a minute or so to put on this second hand, but this hand took me, it's probably 5 minutes before I finally got the thing in place and squashed down in place. And so see, I'm still struggling, but I eventually get it on there. And what you notice is I once I get it on there, I pick up the movement and I give it a couple shakes, you know, to get the to put some wind in the mainspring and see the second hand is going to start spinning, and it didn't. And I panicked for a second, but then I remembered, yeah, the stem is pulled out and it's in hacking mode. So I put the stem back in and bonk, and started running like a champ. And you know, I test, you know, I keep taking a look at it and make sure my hands are aligned and stuff. They're not going to interfere with each other. So I played, you know, you have to play with that a little bit, but like I said, through editing, it makes it look like you do it very well. That cap that just appeared, that's the cap for my X-Acto knife, which is I use the point of the X-Acto knife to take the stem out most of the time to press on the little point. And here's that little case I was talking about. I took the back off. I don't know what that bag is made out of. And yeah, I got the case back grommet stuck in the thing for some reason, but yeah, I figured it out pretty quick. So okay, so here's the case on, and it doesn't look too bad. And watch this. I put the case cushion down, and that's the exact same thing I did in that other video when I put the case on the on that Vostok I built. So I'm just gonna have to monitor myself to not do that anymore. So, but so now it's time to trim the stem. So I get the stem out, and I'm just gonna put the crown on it, but it's hard to screw on, so I had to grip it when I'm finally getting my tweezers out. So I got the stem on there, and you can see it kind of jump when it's on tight enough. Okay, so now I put the stem in, give it a couple winds to make sure it's engaged properly, and I have to get out the mic so I can measure the distance between the top of the screws and the bottom of the threaded piece on this crown. So I lock that down so I don't have to keep fiddling around with it. And then back with the X-Acto to get the crown back out. And I figured out that my cushion was upside down, so I fixed that. So you have to pull out the crown one notch to get the little lever to pop out. Okay. So now I've got to put my stem into the pin vise so that it makes it easier when you go to sand it down after you clip the end off of it. So I got it in the pin vise. I'm trying to take the crown off, but it won't come off. But it's just a question because I don't have that pin vise tightened down tight enough. So you'll see me crank it down. I'll figure out what's wrong after a second. I'll crank. There I go. Crank it down, and the crown comes right off. And I measure it. I don't mark it. A lot of times I'll just stick my thumbnail in the thread so that the cutters just come down to where my thumbnail is sitting, and I just snip it off. And then I sand off the end. I sand off the ends to make the end thread just like a little bit conical, you know. And I wipe off the sanding stuff with a piece of Rodico and get rid of all that dust. And I think in this case the crown didn't go on the first time, so you see I'll pull out the emery board and hit it with the sandpaper a little bit more to try to clean up those threads. Here it is. Yeah, you just hold the thing at an angle, and you spin the pin vise as you go back and forward on the sandpaper, and that gets rid of some of those burrs or whatever it takes to clean it up. Okay, so I finally got the crown on where it's supposed to be. Now I just got to test to make sure the distance inside or the length of the crown has been cut to the short enough distance. And man, that pin vise gives me grief every time I try to get that. Whenever I try to get that stem back out of that pin vise, it will not let go. So I checked it and it's the right length. So now I just got to take it back out and put on some Loctite so that my stem will glue down to the crown tight enough and stick, so it won't unscrew the stem or unscrew the crown if I ever try to set the date or do something that requires. But it's a standard thing you do, and a lot of people just put a little blob of Loctite on a piece of paper, but I just like to squeeze the tube until the Loctite comes out, and you just need the tiniest little blob. See, there's hardly any on that stem, and you don't have to waste a piece of paper or anything like that. Of course, that tube has enough Loctite to do 50,000 stems. You don't hardly need any. So there's my crown on the stem, and I use my little piece of Rodico to clean up any more lube that might have gotten pushed out by the threads. And then here's the the struggle with that freaking stem. Come on, get out of there. It's like when you loosen it up, the little pinchy part of the collet inside the thing doesn't want to open up wide enough to let that thing pass very well. So you just got to fight with it a little bit. So I got my seal in. I got the back on. I don't know why that back is a different color than the rest of the thing. It's probably whatever cheapest metal is available in China. But I don't mind. I'm not going to let it get me down. So here it is. Let me set the time. You can see those white indices, but they're basically invisible when you're looking straight at the watch because it's such a light. Because you get so much reflection off the silver of that dial that you can't see the indices very well, and there's so much refraction, or whatever you want to call it, in the crystal. You see how it's bent right there? It's like that bend is like coming in right on top of those indices as well, so they get kind of lost. So I set my date and set my time, and I'll screw down the crown. That's looking pretty good. Make sure the back is on tight. I'll do that again a couple times. But just thumb pressure is all I think it really needs. And there's a little piece of a protective film on that crystal, so let me get rid of that. And I got this old strap. You can see, if you look at the end of the thing, you can see it's kind of dirty and crappy. It was just one I used to use on another watch, but it's one of the 18 millimeters I had, and the gray stripe of the band matches see how dirty that is. The gray band matches the case pretty good, and the hands match the orange stripe pretty good, so they make a pretty good match. But later on, you see in the next shot, I did a shot in daylight. I took that band to the sink and I cleaned it with a little brush and some soap, and it cleaned up and looks a lot better now. So I'll give you a little shot in the daylight to see what it looks like. There's the loom. Yeah, you can see the loom on those hands stinks. They're cheap hands. I think I paid $10 for them, and I think I saw them on AliExpress for like $3.50. So they're not high quality, but yeah, there's the finished thing. I'm pretty happy with it. It's kind of retro-y, cute little thing. All right, bye-bye. Okay, so if you're watching my videos on how to build a watch, you have reached the bottom of the barrel of how to build watches and you know what there is to do. You just need to get started. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to go on eBay. You're going to search for a 37 millimeter NH35 case. And the first thing you want to do is sort the lowest plus shipping. Shipping and price lowest. Don't worry about these first two. Those low prices, those are boondoggles. Those are just for like inserts or something by themselves. Click on this third one. Okay, so you got these little 37 millimeter cases. They're in 4 different colors. You got one with aluminum bezel insert that's black and gray. You have one that's like a Pepsi bezel. It's blue and red. You can see on the thing. There's 2 different ceramic bezel inserts you can pick from. There's a black one and there's a blue one. Let's go over there, blue. Also, this little blue thing on the end of the ground, that's just a little anti-scratch sticker. Don't worry about that. That peels right off. So you're going to jump over there and you're going to pull down and pick that you want a case for NH35, 36 movement. And then you're going to pick what color you want. And then you're going to click on buy it now, and there you go. And here's one I built using one of the cases with a blue ceramic bezel insert. I also have a watch coming that's going to have a black and gray aluminum bezel insert. So these are nice little cases. So if you're wanting to build a watch, go ahead, go over here, find this ad, click on it, and buy yourself a case. And that's the first step. You'll be up and running. Next thing you're going to want is at least buy your first tool. So you want to search for a hand presser to push your hands on, and you go over, search for that, go over, pull down, lowest first. This doesn't seem to have sorted very well. If you go down, there's a bunch of stuff you don't really want, but if you're searching for something on eBay, click on something that has the right picture, and you're going to scroll down, and you're going to find the exact same thing for a smaller price. $15, that's way too much. So here's the exact same thing for $5. And scooch down a little bit more. Here's the same thing on the left for $4.50. So that's probably the one you're going to get. Of course, it's going to come from China, so it's going to take a little while. But it's your first tool. There's no need to spend a whole lot. But I've done a little bit more work for you. I went ahead and searched. You can either hit buy it now, or you can look at this guy I'm about to pull down. Here it is. Okay, I bought stuff from this guy before. He's somebody in China. The name of the group is Anita 4488, 8844. I can't read that at the moment. This is $3.50 for the tool. That's a whole lot better than 15. You can hit buy it now and have it coming to you. So do that now. It's time for you to start taking action. All right, bye.